All right, guys, so today I want to chat to you about composure, keeping composure or returning to composure during stressful times, during conflicts, and when communicating especially. Now, this follows on from the whole theme of emotional processing, non-reactivity, or not having a knee-jerk reaction when something difficult happens. It's related to the idea of meditation, the idea of centering yourself and speaking from truth. And what's important to know about composing oneself to speak is it's not about denying or negating or bypassing the experience you're having. It's simply about waiting long enough to offer yourself some time and space to receive what's happened and support yourself in recovering from what's happened, as if you've just finished an emotional sprint, getting your breath back, and then deciding what to say, what to do, how to act next. So releasing, reflecting, reorienting, and then composing yourself and taking action. We don't just do this for the sake of others, we do this for ourselves as well, but it benefits others, okay? So composure puts you in an advantageous position in a conflict because you're not giving your potential adversary or potential enemy any ammunition. There's no ammunition. You are refusing to be pigeonholed or pushed, prodded, prompted into a response which is uncharacteristic of the way you choose to live. And so not only are you taking an advantageous position and maintaining your sense of self, you're also preventing your pain from spilling out onto others, which keeps them safe from any unconscious mechanisms where you might accidentally harm them or say something that isn't necessary, isn't useful in any way, and just causes more of an egoic battle to ensue. So it's really important that you integrate both objective fact and truth, like what has actually happened in this situation and how do I feel about that, and that you're able to fully witness, fully embrace, fully express that at the same time as expressing what you have felt and what is going on from a place and at a time where you are no longer at the beck and call or at the whim of your emotion. So the emotion needs to be released in your own safety, in your own time, which is largely a private process. It can be a supported social process too, but if they're really intense emotions, there's like heavy frustration, heavy anger, heavy fear, then you need to distance yourself from the trigger or the activating circumstance so that you can process that anger, recognize where it's coming from, recognize the hurt that it is protecting you from, process the fear, recognize what the fear is telling you. What is the fear afraid that you're going to do? Are you at risk of self-betraying and saying something you don't mean and committing yourself to something you can't deliver on? Are you at risk of saying something that is going to hurt someone else, and then you know that you're going to feel guilty, and so you're in this pain, anger, guilt, shame, fear spiral? You need to give yourself the space to see and recognize that and to understand that that is a thing. And then once you've started to sift through, released a bit of emotion, and you recognize that you're hurt, there's something you don't like, you have a moral issue with what's happened, then you can clearly and effectively communicate that to that other person or party in a way that they can actually receive, understand, and potentially alter their behavior. If they don't alter their behavior, if they don't understand, that's okay. If they don't want to take ownership, that's okay. You don't have to associate with them. You don't have to put up with that. You don't have to decide to share any of your energy or any of your presence or any of your company with that. But at least you're giving them the opportunity to see through their own bullshit and their own emotion and actually understand you and what you need. So you give them the opportunity to treat you well because you're being clear on what you would prefer, clear on what you didn't like, clear on how it made you feel, and you're giving them the opportunity to understand. Giving that opportunity to understand by being truthful, honest, authentic, but not knee-jerk, not reactive, is a wonderful gift to both people. Both people. And it doesn't mean that you have, it's not the same as fawning. It doesn't mean that you self-betray. It doesn't mean that you have to maintain a connection. It gives you both a choice from a space of consciousness which is beyond the heat of emotion. So don't try to bypass the emotion. Don't just try to be above it. Don't try to deny the experience you're having and go straight to like making the other person feel good, or you don't bypass it. You acknowledge and speak the truth of what has happened, but you just don't add. You need to really look out for any subtle intent to harm. You need to really look out for, is this, what I'm saying, is it true to my experience? Is it necessary? And is it going to provide both me and the other person with the opportunity to reflect and to reorient and to decide whether or not this is the kind of person we want to be and how we want to act in future? So when someone is really, really high in capacity, emotional capacity, or they're very aware of this and they're practicing this, sometimes you can end up being quite reactive and upset, and they'll be very calm with you and they'll be very kind and they'll process their own shit. If they might just understand, they might just get it and they're like, hey, it's okay. If the other person that you're with is very, very low in emotional capacity, or they're just at the edge of their capacity, perhaps they have a lot, but they're at the very edge of it, so they don't have much available capacity for this kind of resolution and conversation, then they may not be able to take ownership even if you're really clear, and they may disagree with the way things happened even if you're really clear. And even if you come through kindly, they may still deny and essentially argue the facts in reality. That's okay. You don't have to address that. That's something that people do when either their worldview is different, which is okay, we all have different perspectives, or when they do not have the internal capacity to process having potentially made some kind of harmful action or error. When people don't have the internal capacity, usually because they're very high in shameful self-awareness, they're trapped in self-criticism, they constantly invalidate themselves already, they will be incredibly, incredibly sensitive to any degree of invalidation, criticism, you name it, that comes from you. And so they'll shut down completely, or they will resist and protest. So another reason why, if you want to be heard, and if you want to enable there to be some kind of resolution and humanity, some sort of human gift which comes from this conflict, it's good for you and it's good for everyone else to be as cool, calm, and collected as possible during the conversation. That doesn't mean you can't feel emotions. That doesn't mean you can't express the emotions that you have been feeling, as in, I have been feeling angry. When this happened, I felt tremendously hurt and sad. But that describing what has happened and how you're feeling is different from dumping and projecting the feeling and weaving it into a story and creating this messy scenario that is very difficult for both parties to dig their way out of and have any form of meaningful resolution. Last thing, bear in mind, this can take time. Work with your capacity. Don't expect yourself to be more awakened or capable at managing this stuff than you actually are, but do make a steadfast, sincere intention to sit with your emotions, acknowledge them, let them out, cry, scream, whatever, and be like, okay, that's what that was. How would I like to behave in my interactions in future and in present, not to create more of this? There you go. I hope this has been helpful for you. Much love. Speak to you soon.